What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Just Be Wise, and today we talking about that A7 III. Let's get it. Now, if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, then you know your boy has a soft spot for the A7 II. I love it. As a matter of fact, while we're on that note, if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, go ahead and subscribe. Also, like this video and comment down below about whether you like the A7 II or like the A7 III, or you just wondering, yo B, why are you even on Team Sony? But anyway, if you know me, then you know I love the A7 II. It's really my first camera that I really had. Like, the Canon camera that I had before was really my dad's, and he was kind of letting me borrow it and kept telling me I didn't know what I was doing. But that's besides the point. So this was my first camera, and everything I've learned today, I've learned through using that camera. But while I love and have a soft spot for it, I also have some places that have hardened my heart toward this camera. And some of those places, the A7 III kind of softens my heart again. So that's what we're gonna talk about right now. And first up, let's talk about the battery. One of my biggest complaints with the A7 II was the battery, which I've overcome by using the battery grip. So again, if you've been watching me, then you know I recommend, if you use the A7 II, to have a battery grip. Like, you can't do anything unless you have a battery grip, because your batteries die a lot. And then if you do a lot of home studio shoots, like what I'm doing here for YouTube, get the dummy battery so that you can just run it and don't have to worry about the battery dying. On the A7 III though, not really so much of a problem. I've still yet to get a battery grip for it. And I plan to, just because I want to double my shoot time, but I feel like I can get a lot of work done off of one battery from the A7 III, which is remarkable. Like, in the time that it'll take maybe two and a half batteries on the A7 II, I can get all of that from one battery on the A7 III. That's incredible. That is incredible. So I can only imagine how I can pretty much just shoot all day with the A7 III once I get the battery grip. I'm certain of it. So that's what we're gonna do next. But yeah, the first thing was the battery. Next, it's not that big of a deal, but it's a big deal. Time lapse. Okay, Sony, I let you slide with the A7 II and didn't like really bash you about it, but why I gotta pay for a time-lapse app to put on my camera? Like, that didn't make any sense at all. Now, while it was relatively cheap, that's something that should just come into my camera. Come on, bro. Like, really? I gotta pay for an app to use time-lapse? But again, with A7 III, that's gone. You can go ahead and do time-lapse right on your camera. Don't need to buy an app. That was very just weird to have to buy through your camera on, like, what? That didn't make any sense. So, time-lapse mode. A7 II was trash. Now it's already built in, done. So the next thing that was like not really a big deal for me, but it's kind of still a big deal, is the body. The build of the A7 III is not much different than the A7 II, but there are some changes that they made that are kind of a big deal. One, the record button. Sony, why? Now, you've learned your lesson, but why would you put the video record button on the, like, how are you supposed to reach this? How are you supposed to reach this? Thankfully, in the A7 III, of course you changed it, but in the A7 II, if you still have one and you haven't learned this tip, just change your C3 button to video record. Boom, done, easy, right? But that shouldn't be a thing. The next thing is now we have dual card slots. So if you ever worry about shooting a wedding or anything like that, and worry about if a card's gonna go bad, you have now two cards that can record both, and you can record backup if you need to. Also, one of the card slots is UHS form factor 2, or I don't know how you say it. It's the newer SD cards, the more expensive ones, which is bad because it's more expensive SD cards, but good because you can get better quality video out of it. And speaking of quality, let's talk about 4K. Now, in the A7 II, obviously, there's no 4K, it's 1080p, but in A7 III, you do have 4K, which is nice. And I know I used to talk about you don't need 4K, nobody views things in 4K, but that's because I didn't understand while I can still upload and deliver things in 1080p, 4K gives you so much room to reframe shots, to adjust different things. It just gives you so much more, and I was delusional. So yeah, shoot in as high resolution as you can, and then scale down to the resolution, and then scale down to the resolution that you want to deliver it in. So like at work, most of the stuff we shoot in is 8K, but we still deliver a lot of stuff in 1080p. So we have so much room, and it looks so much better too, because when it's downscaling, it just has so much more to work. It just looks beautiful. So yeah, 4K for the win. You already know what number one is. Like I said at the beginning, if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you know my biggest gripe with the A7 II. There's two really big gripes. We already discussed the battery. The other one is the autofocus. Oh, autofocus. Now, let me say it's a bittersweet thing that I have a better autofocus system now, because to be honest, being forced not to use autofocus has helped me to become better with my camera. Like, I've had to learn how to not trust my camera's autofocus. But there'll be situations where it's like, yo, if I don't have autofocus, there's just things I can't do. So now there's a lot more things that I can do, and you guys are gonna see me do more. Maybe you'll see me do more things going forward because I have autofocus, but it's kind of hard to do movements with the camera still when I'm on screen. So I can't really move it, and I don't really have somebody to hand the camera off to for them to do it. So it's just, we'll figure something out. But having autofocus is beautiful. Now, I'm not using it right now, but that's because I've been like I still don't fully trust autofocus even on the A7 III. While it is very good, I will say on video, it still has some size that's lacking, but in photo mode, it's really fast. Like the autofocus on the A7 II, not really reliant in photo mode, but in photo mode on the A7 III, you can really trust the autofocus, especially because it has the eye autofocus. Oh my God, grade A quality. Now, if you've previously moved from the A7 II to the A7 III, why don't you go ahead and leave a comment down below and tell us what you've liked when moving over, or maybe some of the things that you feel like could have been done a little bit better, because I do know some of the things may be very similar from the A7 II to the 3. So leave that as well, because I just want to make sure we have a place where we can help people who are coming here to make a buying decision. And everyone may not be as hype as me about the A7 III, so it's gonna be fair to have some open criticism. And also make sure to mention if you're a photo main or a video main, or maybe even the hybrid shooter that sits in the middle, just because, you know, that kind of goes into what camera you should be buying as well. So I think that will help things out. And lastly, if you like this video or found it helpful at all, please make sure to go ahead and like it. And as always, I gave you some tools to create. Now be great. Peace.